What we'd like to show you next will be the next part of the syllabus for level 1s, which would be edge obstruction at the top. Now, more commonly you'll find edge obstructions such as going over the side of a building, so more kind of town work where you have to tackle a 90-degree edge. So there are ways of doing it, some not so great, so we want to show you a nice safe way of navigating past the edge so that you're going to keep yourself as risk-free as possible. Now, when we climb up, depending on the distance that you climb, if it's a relatively short climb, then you might want to tackle it by climbing up on your descender. But for us, we're going to show you climbing in the chest crawl. For this manoeuvre, we can climb in chest crawl, but we cannot be in chest crawl as we progress over the edge. Reason for that being is if we climb up over the edge in a chest crawl, we're going to create slack above the device. As this device has teeth is not good enough for us to have any potential dynamic loading on it. So if we were to fall back at that point, the risk would be that the teeth on the chest crawl would start to damage the part of the rope. So what we must do is change into our descent device. So we can climb up in the chest crawl, but as soon as we get to the point where we are close to the edge, we want to make sure that we change into our descender. So the chest crawl comes off. And I'm just going to get myself a little higher. Remember, when we're climbing, hand on the control rope, open the tail, or open the handle. And I want to come up just so I can see over the edge. Up the handle of the descender, then I can let go. Now what we'll do next, I'm not going to take any points off and reattach. I'm just going to get the backup device and slide it up over the edge. Now, as you see with this piece of equipment here, this is an edge protector. This is looking after the ropes to make sure the ropes can't get damaged by a potential hazardous surface. So when we go through a hierarchy of control, always edge protection over rope protection. So what I want to make sure is my cow's tails and the ropes stay inside the edge protection. It's there to look after the ropes. So I'm not wanting to have my ropes sitting to the side, because if we were to weight the rope or fall onto the rope at the wrong point, we're then risking our ropes getting damaged. So I've got my back up above. Now, because of the tension in the ropes and because of the friction over the edge, you can't slide the hand jammer up and over. So I'm going to take my foot out of the foot loop, hand jammer comes off, and it reattaches up over the edge. Now, one thing to bear in mind is when we're going over edges, if we load any piece of equipment over an edge, we're going to damage it. And on assessments, we can get minors for that also. But more importantly, we want to do it safely. So we'll push the hand jammer back far enough so when you weight the device, there will be no loading over the edge itself. So then foot back in the foot loop, bring up your weight, and then slide it back up nice and far back. Pull yourself up, and then continually slide your back up to the back of the platform. So now I'm essentially in work restraint because I can't fall back because the device is holding me back from doing so. I'm going to get one of my spare cow's tails and attach it into the sling so there is no potential risk of me going back over the edge of the platform. Now I can then attach my ropes, sender off, hand jammer off, and very important step to do at the final stages is ensuring that your ropes go back inside that edge protector. Because if you don't go down the same set of ropes and you're to progress somewhere else and climb up the ladder, for example, the next person to follow behind, their ropes are no longer protected. So we need to make sure that we look after the guys that we're working with by making sure those ropes go back inside the edge protector. And once we're up, we're now in restraint, and that finishes that part of the manoeuvre. So we've started at the top, we still have our connections on. I've already got my backup device on the rope, and I have my restraint lanyard still attached. Now you can remove the restraint lanyard and use your backup as the restraint device as long as it gets kept far enough back. But for me, this device is long enough, this lanyard is long enough, that I can get close enough to assist me with the next part of the manoeuvre. So what I want to do is get close enough to the edge that I can actually reach and see over the edge. Now, to do this manoeuvre safely, we're not going to crab walk backwards and just try and keep our position as we go over the edge, because that's an unsafe way of doing the manoeuvre. Because if we slip at the wrong point, we can slip and smack into the platform, causing ourselves some injury, or worse yet, we can cause shock load at the worst point of the rope where it's closest to the knots. We're losing any of that potential stretch if there's any fall onto the ropes. So what we want to do is reach down about an inch below the edge, and we're going to feed this into the descender. So open the descender up, Now you're almost putting this in upside down from what you're normally used to, so there is a risk of you putting the rope in back to front, and it does depend on what type of descender that you're using. So we know this is the tail part of the rope because this is what continues down to the floor. On this type of descender, the tail part of the rope has to come out the top of the device. So I'm going to feed the tail in and then have that point that I kept at the start of the descender. Lock it off, so when I'm using these style of descenders, the rope that comes out the top is also the rope that continues to go all the way down to the floor. And that way I know I have it in the correct way. I'll then get my hand jammer from the harness, making sure there's nothing twisting going on, and I'm going to reattach that to the rope for the descent line. So open up the hand jammer. As we spoke before, we want to avoid any side loading of any equipment over the edge because number one, it will damage it, and number two, we're going to reduce the strength of that piece of equipment. So I can position it close enough to the edge without the risk of it getting damaged. So here for me will be pretty much perfect. Now I'm going to remove the cow steel that I have here for the restraint line. So I have my 2 points attached to the ropes. Bring my back up down slightly closer, and I'm just going to position my body with my feet over the edge of the frame. Handle of my descender is locked, carabiners are closed. So now I'm just going to get one of my feet in the foot loops. Make sure you can reach it. Then I'm just going to turn with my body weight so all my weight goes onto my right foot. So I haven't slipped over, I haven't crashed over the side of the structure. I'm in full control as I do this manoeuvre. So now I'm just going to slowly sit, making sure that the rope stays in the edge protector of the rope. And now I'm fully weighted on my descender. Slide the back up down, so it now comes over the edge. Take the foot out the foot loop and remove the hand jammer from the rope. Lower it back onto the harness. And we just have to ensure that the ropes that we are now attached to are now safely inside that edge protector, because that's there to look after our ropes. If we start to descend and don't check it, either one of our ropes on the wrong side of that edge protector now means that we can now cause rope damage. So we just want to make sure when you start descending, ropes from the edge protector, and we'll just use our body to get away from the edge.